Hey, it's Jeremy from jeremy.net. So here I am reworking more poor figure drawings from life drawing class. And I find that the biggest flaw that I'm fixing most frequently is structural. I mean, as you can see here with this small hand that I'm redrawing, I'm making it a lot more like blocking in the tops, fronts, and sides of the fingertips. Now the same with this hand that I'm drawing here is I'm clarifying the direction of the planes of these digits. Now, my hope is that I'll get faster at describing these structural volumes, just the simple form, the way that it describes itself as space, so that when I'm actually in class working from a model, I'll be able to do these things quickly, much more quickly. The problem I have is that for a lot of these drawings, when you look at the original in comparison to the study of me trying to figure out what I did wrong, in a lot of these, the studies aren't horrible, but they're just loosey-goosey. They're soft. They're mushy because I didn't get down the actual structural forms on the fly. Now, if I can get myself to the point where I'm doing this very quickly, then, hopefully my figure drawing classes, the drawings from class will be a lot more dynamic but solid at the same time. And I find that one of the things that helps a lot is this helps with foreshortening. Now, I don't mean the Jack Kirby hands that are dynamically flying out at you foreshortening. I mean just simply describing the palm of the hand and then describing the volume of a knuckle sitting on top or in front of that, and then describing the first phalange of the finger sitting in front of that. Just doing the very simple overlap. One form in front of another, in front of another, in front of another. Drawing hands and knuckles is great for that. And it can be frustrating because it's so difficult. And one of the things that I've noticed in class is a lot of the things that I'm trying to do are difficult, but they're simple to understand. Describing a simple volume or a structure, when you explain to someone what you're doing, like even when I say it here, yeah, it sounds simple. But it's one of those things like practicing your scales. The concept is simple. The actual execution of it can be very challenging without a lot of repetition and actively studying and figuring out what you're doing right or wrong. And then when I'm moving on to doing some head studies, with a lot of these, the problem that I find is that I will I'm trying to correct for the overall shape and structure of the head. I have a bad habit of moving on to features too soon when I haven't properly described the direction the head is facing or adding a bit of character to the skull. Like, I find if someone has a longer or wider skull, and I don't get down to adding that or describing it before I start adding the most basic features, when I do add those features, they never quite sit right on the skull. So it's kind of challenging trying to learn and draw at the same time. It's learning how to observe what you're doing, and then at the same time, while you're observing, you know, describing these things, or at least learning how to course correct and do alternate versions very quickly. You know, I may have the same head and draw it, like as you can see here, two or three times, trying to work out, oh, I may have gotten the volumes down, but I didn't get the direction right. So coming back in and trying to do it over again. And it's also the fact of taking the time to redo those new features now that I've made those corrections. Because each time you learn to describe these features, the way that the nose juts out from the face, how deep in the eyes are set and describing the eye sockets in the correct position, doing those things over and over again is kind of like doing scales. Because, as I do it, hopefully I get a little bit faster and a little bit more accurate each time. So it is actually really good practice for me doing these big heads and then smaller heads and then another head, and each time trying to work out, well, what is the little thing that's off with this? And while I'm doing that, saying, all right, well, let me get a little bit more practice in here, like running a drill. All right, let me get my nose drills in here. Let me get my eye socket drill in here. Let me just work out placing these volumes on here. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy these videos, please like and share them. Visit my resources page for free creativity tools and comic books at resources.jeremy.net. That's resources jeremy.gerimi.net. Also, visit my main website, jeremy.net, where you can buy my comic books, art prints, and more. There's also links to my Instagram, Twitter, and other social media accounts. That's it for now. Go be creative.